Hey guys, I want to continue on with acids and bases. Our next concept is titration. So just kind of to recap everything we've talked about thus far, we've talked about how to calculate the pH of a strong acid, strong base, the pH of a weak base or weak acid solution. We've talked about how to calculate the pH of a salt, as well as how a salt can affect its, and remember a salt is a conjugate acid or conjugate base, how it in a solution with its weak acid or weak base can affect its pH, called the common ion effect, as well as what that means in terms of buffers and how to calculate pH with buffers. Now we're going to look at titrations, which we looked at titrations last semester in all technicality, so this isn't anything super duper new. Now we're just going to add our new concepts of buffers, weak acids, and weak bases, and salts into this mix and kind of see how everything goes. Okay? But let's just kind of recap what a titration is. A titration is simply when we add an acid or a base together in a solution. So in other words, we start with an acid, we add a base, or we start with a base and we add an acid to it. And the goal of it, in most cases, is to figure out a concentration of an unknown species. So maybe we know the acid's concentration, but we don't know the base's concentration, or vice versa. We typically use a burette system, and remember we did do this last semester. Looks something like this. You have a burette. Whoops. There we go. Smart bird's being finicky this morning. We have our little burette. It would have either the acid or the base in it. Sometimes this is the one we know, sometimes it's the one we don't know. It kind of depends. And then we have a flask with an indicator in the acid or base below. So if this was the base and the burette, this would be the acid, or if this was the acid, this would be the base. And all we do is we turn this stopcock a little bit and we let a few drops fall in at a time until we see a color change. That color change is called the end point of the titration. It's when the indicator changes colors. This, ideally, if we do this correctly, is called the equivalence point. And the equivalence point is when the acid equals, the moles of the acid, equal the moles of the base. And in reality, it's the moles of the hydronium ion equals the moles of the hydroxide ion. Because in a titration reaction, essentially what's happening is we have an acid reacting with a base to form water. So, especially with a strong acid, strong base, so we'll call this a strong acid, strong base, which is what we're going to look at first anyways. When we have a strong acid reacting with a strong base, we form water, and we end up forming a neutral salt, so something like NaCl, which we don't typically show in a net ionic equation because it also ionizes completely. So what we're left with is a neutral solution at the equivalence point. Now, the equivalence point is not always neutral, which we're going to see as we work through these problems, but that's essentially what we're working on. Is we want the moles of the hydrogen equal the moles of the hydroxide, so we end up with pure water and some type of salt by the time everything's said and done. All right, so let's keep actually looking at some of the math here and how this actually works and everything like that. And again, we've done this before. This isn't that big of a deal, at least with a strong acid, strong base. It does become a little bit more complicated when we've got a weak acid, weak base situation. But for a strong acid, strong base, it's actually pretty straightforward. But let's just kind of do, the first thing I want to do is actually particulate representation with you. What I want you to actually see is what's going on at each kind of point. And I saw this on the AP Chemistry Facebook page, and I really, really liked it. So let's say this is our burette. And I know it's not quite the right shape, but that's okay. And in this burette, we have sodium hydroxide. And let's say we have 5 moles and 5 liters, which means we've got a 1 molar solution. So we have NaOH, 5 moles, 5 liters. So we have 5 sodiums floating around in here because it's a solution. Okay. And we also have 5 hydroxides floating around in here. Because again, solution, strong base, dissociates completely. Hopefully, if you guys can answer this question, when we are in good shape, how would this look different if it was a weak base? Okay. So we have our little stopcock. It's going to be pouring into our flask or beaker. I'm going to draw it like a beaker. Okay, and in this beaker, same idea. We're going to have hydrochloric acid, and we're going to have 5 moles and 5 liters. And the only reason I'm doing such large values is because I want you to actually see what's going on here. Most of the time, we're dealing with 1 molar or less, which is what these are, but we're dealing with volumes of like 25 milliliters or 50 milliliters, not 5 liters. So if I have 5 moles of hydrochloric acid in a 5-liter solution, I'm going to have 5 hydrogens floating around. Again, strong acid, so it dissociates completely. And I'm going to have 5 chlorines floating around. Okay, so we end up with something along the lines of that. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to start adding the sodium hydroxide in drop-wise into our hydrochloric acid solution. And we're going to do this 1 mole at a time, which when you're doing this in real life, that's really hard to control. You're just adding a few drops at a time. And again, we're dealing with low values, both molarity and volume in most cases. So let's say we drop our first mole of sodium hydroxide into our solution. Well, what's going to happen here? Well, one of our hydroxides is going to bond with our hydrogen to form H2O, and we're going to end up with a sodium ion floating around. Okay, well, that takes off one of our hydrogens. And actually, let's do this. Let's go back real quick before we actually add our hydroxide in. Let's pretend we were calculating our pH here, because what I want you to see is how pH is changing, as well as what's going on a molecular level. So go back to the very, very beginning before we added any sodium hydroxide. We've got our 5 moles of hydrochloric acid floating in a 5-liter solution, which means we have a 1 molar HCl. Well, how do we calculate the pH of a 1 molar HCl solution? Well, we recognize that I'm going to have 1 molar hydrogen floating around, so we take the negative log of 1 molar, which is going to give us a pH of 0 initially. Okay, so great, no big deal. Now we're going to add that sodium hydroxide in, and one of our hydrogens is going to turn into H2O as the hydroxide reacts with it, and we're going to end up with a sodium ion just floating around. Now, we're not actually going to end up with sodium chloride because they are going to stay ionized because, again, it's a fully ionizable salt. So now how many hydrogens do we have floating around? Well, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 in a 5-liter solution, which that's going to change our molarity, and we'll call this a pH of step 1, which is before the reaction occurs. Now we have step 2, our new molarity is going to be 0.80. So when I take the negative log of this, I'm going to get a new pH of around 0.097. So pH at this point equals 0.097. So not a huge change, but a little bit of a change. Okay, we're becoming less acidic because we're losing hydrogen in solution. Now we're going to add a secondary sodium hydroxide into the mix. And again, it's going to react with one of our hydrogens to form water. And we're going to have another sodium floating around. Okay, well now we have 3 hydrogens in 5 liters, which is going to give us a molarity of 0.6. So when we take the negative log of that, so we'll have step 3, 0.60 molar, and our new pH at this particular step is going to be 0.22. So again, still not big changes because we are dealing with pretty strong solutions here. You'll see bigger changes with our weaker ones, but we are seeing a change. It's becoming less acidic because we are adding sodium hydroxide to it. It's reacting with the hydrogen and removing it from the system and creating a less acidic solution, less hydrogen solution. Okay, so let's add another sodium hydroxide. That's again going to react with one of our hydrogens to form H2O, and another sodium is going to be floating around in here. Now we have 2 hydrogens, 2 moles of hydrogens, in a 5-liter solution, so we end up with a 0.4 molar. I'm going to come up here and continue writing. We end up with a 0.4 molar solution. Again, take the negative log of that, and we're going to get a pH of 0.4 actually. Okay, continue on, add another sodium hydroxide. It's going to react with one of our hydrogens to form water and another sodium floating around. Okay, Okay, now we have 1 hydrogen out of 5, which gives us a molarity of our hydrogen to be 0.2, which again is going to give us a new pH of 0.7. All right, now we're going to add our last one in. So we're going to add sodium hydroxide, the last sodium hydroxide that's present. It's going to change our last hydrogen to water, and we're left with nothing but sodium chloride in solution. So what is our concentration of hydrogen ions at this point in time? Well, it's technically not going to be present from the acid, which means it's coming from our pure water, which is 1.0 times 10 to the negative 7th, if you remember our kW, which means our pH at this point in time is 7. And this is called the equivalence point. How do we know? Well, all of our hydroxides canceled out all of our hydrogens, or react with all of our hydrogens, and there's no more hydrogens or hydroxides left in this system. So we have hit what's called the equivalence point, and ideally, if we pick the right indicator, our end point as well, meaning we would see a color change at this point in time. Now, we do have sodium and chlorine still floating around in solution, and if we remember back to when we talked about salts, sodium and chlorine are conjugates of strong acids and strong bases, and therefore will not affect the pH in any way, shape, or form. If we were to deal with a weak acid or weak base, this would be a different situation, which again, we're going to look at it in just a minute. Now, let's say I have 1 more mole of sodium hydroxide floating around in here, and I drop that down into my beaker. Let me use a different color. That sodium and that hydroxide are just going to be floating around in here. That hydroxide has no one to react with. So now when we take the pH, we have to recognize that we have our 1 molar hydroxide in our 1 liter, which is going to be a 0.20 molar for our hydroxide ion concentration. So when I take the negative log of that, I'm going to get POH, which gives us that 0.7 again, and subtract that from 14. Now all of a sudden we get a pH of 13.3. So notice we get this very small change to begin with. We start with a 0, we go to 0.1, then we go to 0.2, then we go to 0.4, 0.7, and then all of a sudden, once all of that hydrogen is gone, we have a huge jump up to 7. And then once we get past what's called the equivalence point, meaning we've added more base than we need, or more acid than we need, in this case we're adding the base to more base than we need, we end up with a really basic solution. And if I kept adding our base, we would see a minor change as this pH did increase as we added more base, but it would be the same type of minor change we saw originally with the acid. So that's kind of a strong acid, strong base titration with a very simple particulate representation. We'll come back and actually look at some of the math a little bit more in the next video, but that's kind of where we are right now. Thanks, guys.